Whoa! It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. I'm up here in the Sierras. Got away from it all for a little bit. Or got into it all. Depends on how you look at it. It's amazing how important it is to get in contact with the nature, with the natural world, with some flowers, with some trees, with some blue skies, some clean smelling air that smells like forest. It's been a couple years since I've actually really gotten out of town for a real length of time. 48 hours out here, I feel recharged, feel a lot better. It's been a long couple months, and then you get out here and it all seems to disappear. You remember what it's all about, the simple things, you know, laughing, splashing around in water, hugging some trees, smelling some trees, looking at little wildflowers, you know, basically simplifying reality. And I do appreciate the landscape. You know, it's interesting up in these parts. There's definitely, you know, preserved wilderness, and then there's also, you know, habitat that has been disrupted like a century ago with logging and whatnot, and you see the regrowth. And I take it to understand that, you know, it's how important land management is. And I mean, I think I get filled with more complex thoughts up in these places than I do simplified thoughts. You know, I think about how if it wasn't for government intervention on a certain level, most of this land would have been continued to have been decimated by people who would extract it for financial purposes. And that kind of held it in trust for a long time. And then, you know, here we are. It's the same government can unleash the extractivists into the same land in a different control mechanism. And so I think about, you know, the trouble going on in the cities right now, and the future of who knows what's going on. And I guess I want people to realize that, you know, if you truly believe in land preservation, you do need a strong governmental influence on that land in preservation, but yet it needs to be balanced. You can't just let them run the show either. You know, I look, you know, you can go to the edge of a wilderness area, and due to an arbitrary line on a map created by an act of Congress, that land is essentially safe from mechanized exploitation. But those preserved lands are based upon those same lines being maintained in perpetuity. And I think there's sort of as a person who wants these lands to be preserved for infinity, you know, you look at you get to go sit next to a 1,700-year-old tree, and you realize that it was due to foresight of of people that 1,700-year-old tree remains in place for us to look at in this short lifetime. And that you can go over the next ridge and realize, you go over the ridge from the General Grant tree and grove, and there's the basin that had all of its sequoias removed and is regrowing, and it'll be 1,700 years till those trees establish their a maximum state of equilibrium. Well, if not shorter, but you get where I'm going. And as much as people don't like many of the aspects of our system, we do live in a country with some of the greatest land preservation on the planet. And that humbles me on a way as a person who loves land is I like to see nature in its full glory and its beauty and its interworking. And that doesn't exclude us from that land. It invites us into that land, and it's up to us to be responsible stewards of that land. It was interesting, I know some eco people that were like very, oh my goodness, it's all, during the shutdown that, this is so great for the land, the land is glistening, and yet I don't think they truly understand that the system keeps the hungry hordes from devouring this landscape, that it is a give and a take. And I think, the balance of what we value as humanity and society is pretty off kilter. And yet you can come stand at the edge of a wilderness area, and the only reason that wilderness area is preserved is a product of that unkiltered nature. I don't know. I'm truly grateful for those who came before me and realized that these landscapes and these environments are worth more than any monetary value, anything that can be extracted from them except joy and harmony. I mean, that's the, what is the value of joy and harmony when you're up here with your small child? How can you put a price tag on that? No, it's priceless. And I don't know, those who would tear down the system of we have and not realize the benefits of the system that are in place. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of work to be done. I don't know, I think I come out into this landscape and I realize that how much work needs to be done. Yes, it's relaxing and I escape into it. I've turned it all off. I have no idea what's going on out there. And yet, out there affects here. It's a very symbiotic relationship, this reality we have on Spaceship Earth. And, I come out here and I'm reminded that this land preservation is a great gift of those who came before us. That because this land that anyone can visit is equal. I see all the people camping here. They're of every race, religion, creed, nationality that can get here, and they're all enjoying the same beauty I'm enjoying. They didn't come out here to not enjoy it. Nobody comes out into nature because they don't want to be part of the harmony and the beauty and the sublime elegance of it all. And again, I think that's why we need more nature, not less. And how we get that balance is I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at this just little perfect little teeny flower right here. It's so delicate, you know, and you know, if I were to live right here, that little flower would disappear. I've always thought a lot about, I mean, even me just standing here sitting right here is having an impact upon this little environment, you know, and so we can only be visitors in it. I think we're only visitors on this planet for our short lifetime. And yet we can fully roam around in it. We can fully check it out. There's no rules out here except being responsible for yourself. You know, when I go turn off into one of these Forest Service roads where I put a backpack on and I head into the wilderness, that is what freedom is. If I don't have it, I can't get it. You know what I mean? I'm responsible for my own safety and well-being. You know, I was with Owl and we were listening to one of those Jimi Hendrix songs about freedom or something, or a Ween song or something, and he was asking me what freedom is. And freedom's, to me, is having the right and the duty and the privilege and the God-given right to be responsible for myself. To come out into this environment and know that if I didn't bring my extra 5-gallon gas can, that I can't go as far as I want to into the woods because I could run out of gas, and that anything that befalls me is up to me. I think that's what we're battling on a certain level, is the nanny state. I don't want anyone being responsible for me. That's why I come out into nature is to not have anyone be responsible before me. And yet there's all sorts of like rules, like, you know, you're not supposed to have like a campfire out here this time of year. And it's up to me. And the reason you can't is because irresponsible people before me have not had proper fire management skills. You know what I mean? They didn't bring their shovel and their water and their stuff to put out a campfire. I have all that stuff in my car. You know, it was funny. I taught Owl how to do his first legitimate poop in the woods. You know, digging a hole and burying it, and the responsibility of, you know, I talk a lot about it on my YouTube channel, is, you know, one of your main responsibility as a human being is to be responsible for the drinking water supply and your fecal waste management skills. And neither of those two things do you have to really pay much attention to in an urban area. You rely, again, on the system, right? The system that we all take for granted, that we think that we can burn down, that we can just start over, dude. Yeah, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna start it all over if there's no one to make sure that the wastewater treatment plant is functioning with the proper microbes, dude, right? How are you gonna, you know, someone needs to make sure that the drinking water is safe to drink, you know? There's plenty of communities that don't have either. And we take for granted on Spaceship Earth that we have access to both of those. You know, plenty of people on this planet don't have proper disposal of their fecal matter, and therefore their water supply is contaminated. And that's one of the great responsibilities with coming out into the wilderness here is you're on your own with the water, dude, right? You got to either bring enough for yourself, or you got to bring water filtration systems. And the same thing with your poop, where you got to bring a shovel, and you got to have some know how to dispose of it in the forest and the desert. And you know, it comes with a great responsibility, but that allows me to be free enough to venture into it and walk into it and not be afraid of it. And that's what I needed to be reminded of freedom. And the balance of freedom isn't because there's rules to follow. It's the freedom of knowing why there are rules to follow. The rules aren't meant to impede me. They're meant to like elevate me, because people are irresponsible. People don't come into these environments prepared, right? So yeah, like if I look at where I'm camping, I'm not deep enough as far as I'm concerned. But you know, we got here late at night and we picked a spot. But you know, I really should be another 15 miles deeper into the woods, dude. I have the gear, I have the mindset, I have the mentality. And yet I crossed an obstacle today with Owl out 4x4ing up a road where I easily could have made it. I easily could have 4x4'd up that road, but yet the technical difficulty of it, and the possibility for that to have gone sideways, and me calculating that I'm alone with a 5-year-old child, put me into check, because I am out in the wilderness, because I do know that there's no one coming to rescue me, and that I am ultimately responsible for myself and Owl when I come out here, that I'm not dependent upon a ranger or somebody else with a tow strap or whatever it is, that I am dependent upon being able to make the right decision. Here, it's funny, it's the rush. It's Thursday night, so everybody's coming up for the 4th of July weekend. That was like a full line of like people with their campers, right? And I don't know. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to have love in my life. I'm grateful to be able to come out into these environments and know that I could go deeper into them if I so desired, and yet being satisfied with just being able to sit here amongst these little blue and pink and yellow flowers and smell that clean mountain air and get away from it all for just a minute. Slow it all down. Anyway, this is the illusion. It's classic. We're glad we came up here on a Tuesday. Be busy up here this weekend. 4th of July, man. 4th of July. Anyway, I don't know. I just thought I would share some thoughts while Al was napping. And now it's time for a little evening adventure.